Let's chat about Chapter 8, the noise and vibration hazards. There's two main safety and health concerns with noise and vibration. The first is distraction. The second is hearing loss. So distraction is when you're in a really noisy area and you can't hear a forklift backing up and you get squished like a bug, right? Hearing loss is more insidious. It typically happens over a longer period of time, whether years or decades. Although it can be a short-term event like an explosion that can give you temporary hearing issues. So sound is any change in pressure that can be detected by the ear. Noise is just an unwanted sound. A vibration is inaudible and is perceived through the sense of touch, typically travels through solid objects. The unit of measurement for sound is the decibel. Now, there's a few different decibel scales, but the one we're going to use, and they use an OSHA for measuring this stuff, is the A scale. So it's written as lowercase d, uppercase b, uppercase a, dB, A. To give you an idea of how the scale works, any sound less than 10 basically can't be heard. About 10 decibels is the threshold of hearing for the average human ear. The threshold of pain is about 140 decibels. This is about the loudest you can get without experiencing physical pain. So think standing next to a jet engine running at full power. OSHA requires hearing protection over about 85 decibels, although it depends on the amount of exposure, so the time you spend near that sound or noise. Hearing loss is an impairment that interferes with the reception of sound and with the understanding of speech. It can be caused by moderate noises over a long period of time or a sudden intense noise. It is believed that hearing loss that was previously attributed to aging is actually the result of constant exposure to loud sounds in modern society. Excessive noise can also result in medical problems such as a quickened pulse, increase in blood pressure, and constriction of blood vessels. Tinnitus, also known as a ringing in the ears, can be caused by a loud, impulsive noise, but typically disappears if there is no further exposure. So the factors that affect the risk of hearing loss are the intensity of the noise, the type of noise, the duration of exposure daily, the duration of exposure in terms of years, and your age. So without PPE, the ear is at risk when sound levels exceed about 115 decibels at any one time. Sound levels below 80 decibels are considered safe. Prolonged exposure to sound levels above 80 decibels should be protected against by PPE or personal protective equipment like earplugs or earmuffs. OSHA and ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, are responsible for most of the standards and regulations that govern hearing noise hazards in the workplace. In 1983, OSHA required employers to implement a hearing conservation program anywhere employees were exposed to 85 decibels or above in an 8-hour time-weighted average. OSHA requires a 50% 5 dBA decibel logarithmic trade-off OSHA requires a 50% 5 decibel logarithmic trade-off. This means that for every 5 decibel increase in noise level, the length of exposure should be limited by 50%. So for example, 90 decibels is the limit for an 8-hour day without PPE. If 95 decibels is encountered, the duration must be less than 4 hours without PPE. If it's more than 4 hours, PPE is required. Over 100 decibels, you're limited to 2 hours without PPE. Anything over 106 decibels is less than 1 hour without PPE. The Hearing Conservation Standard contains the following requirements. Monitoring noise levels. This should be done on a regular basis and is required when new equipment is installed or existing equipment is changed. The noise levels emanating from that equipment should be checked to make sure it doesn't change the overall noise hazards of the facility. The next is medical surveillance. Employees should be tested for a baseline hearing assessment upon hiring and be tested annually. Noise controls is the next. Reasonable effort should be made to contain noise at the source or protect workers from the noise. So the best way to do this is to eliminate the noise, right? You want to control it at the source so that you don't have to make everybody wear earplugs. This is known as an engineering control. When that isn't possible, you can't get rid of the noise, then you have to resort to PPE. So the next requirement is PPE is used. PPE is used if noise controls do not lower the risk to the employees. The next is education and training. Employees should understand noise risk and the potential long-term consequences. So noise and sound aren't the only issues. Vibration going through solid materials can cause problems. Vibration going through solid materials can cause metal fatigue that can cause machinery to fail before it's supposed to. The use of power tools can also cause medical issues like arthritis, injury to soft tissue in the hands, and blockage of blood vessels. Raynaud's phenomenon is a common ailment resulting from the use of power tools like pneumatic chisels, needle scalers, and grinders. This condition causes the skin to turn pale because of a reduction in blood flow caused by blood vessel and nerve spasms. It can result in a loss of sensation in the hands, and if not treated, can get worse, and it's something you want to take care of. The way to avoid it is to either limit the use of vibration intense tools or mitigate it some way with heavy gloves, something like that. Vibration in machinery can be reduced by using solid foundations, dynamic dampers, rubber or plastic bumpers, and flexible mountings and couplings. So that's it for Chapter 8, Noise and Vibration Hazards.